Welcome to the Growing Tall Poppies podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nat Green, and I'm so excited to have you join me as we discuss what it means to navigate your way through post-traumatic growth and not just survive, but to thrive after trauma. Through our podcast, we will explore ways for you to create a life filled with greater purpose, self-awareness, and a deep inner peace. Through integrating the many years of knowledge and professional experience, as well as the wisdom of those who have experienced trauma firsthand, we will combine psychology, accelerated approaches, coaching, and personal experience to assist you to learn, to grow, and to thrive. I hope to empower you to create deeper awareness and understanding and stronger connections with yourself and with others, whilst also paving the way for those who have experienced trauma and adversity to reduce their suffering and become the very best versions of themselves in order to thrive. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Welcome back to Growing Tall Poppies, the podcast where we explore powerful stories of resilience, healing, and transformation after trauma. I'm your host, Dr. Nat Green, and today's episode is a little different. It's just you and me today, having a heartfelt conversation. No guests, just raw, honest, and hopefully deeply resonant, vulnerable truth. I want to have a bit more of a personal conversation with you today. I want to talk directly to those of you who are always holding space for others, to the therapists, coaches, healers, and helping professionals out there. I see you. Those of you who give so much, who carry others through darkness, and who often forget that you too need light. Today, I want to share something close to my heart, a shift in direction, a deepening of purpose, and a calling I can no longer ignore. I'm going to talk about why I'm pivoting my work to focus specifically on therapists, coaches, and helping professionals. Day after day, you show up for others, you hold space for deep pain, and you guide others through healing. If you've been feeling exhausted, disconnected, or like you're just going through the motions, then this episode is for you. Today, I also want to share a deeply personal story and speak to something I believe the helping professionals community desperately needs to hear. You see, there's a quiet crisis happening in the world of helping professionals. They're leaving their professions in droves, and all those years of experience and expertise simply can't be wasted. It can't be lost for nothing. We have to do something about this while we can. We're trained to spot pain and trauma in others, but what about in ourselves? What happens when we are the ones exhausted, emotionally numb, losing our passion, or silently carrying the stories of pain we've been entrusted with? Sometimes the reasons that we're feeling drained, burnt out, or disconnected in our work is trauma. Not just our clients' trauma, but our own. And often it's trauma that we haven't acknowledged or haven't even realised was there. So if any of this resonates, then this episode is absolutely for you. Let's start with the big picture. Over the past 35 years, I've worked with so many people navigating the aftermath of trauma, survivors of all kinds, some with big T trauma, others with a lifetime of smaller, compounding hurts. And time again, the ones showing up to help, the therapists, coaches, the helping professionals, are just as deeply impacted by trauma as the people they're supporting. But here's the kicker. They don't realise it. Or they do, but they don't feel that they're allowed to name it. And they're often too ashamed to admit it. And certainly not to speak it out loud for fear of so many things, including being seen as impaired or losing their registration, being seen as weak, or because there's this unspoken myth in the helping world. If you're doing it right, it shouldn't drain you. You should be strong, resilient, unshakable. And that belief is crushing people. I've seen incredible practitioners, gifted, heart-centered, wise, question themselves, burn out, disconnect from their passion, and start to doubt their calling. And they choose to leave, or in some cases even take their own lives. But here's the truth. Supporting trauma survivors and people in times of deep pain is emotionally demanding work. Feeling drained doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you care and you're human. Empathy is beautiful, but without boundaries and self-regulation, it becomes depleting. And this is where the exhaustion creeps in. Compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma. Not just buzzwords, but very real symptoms I see in our field every single day. And the deeper truth, often what's driving the burnout, the fatigue, the chronic pushing, is unacknowledged trauma. Yes, even for the therapists, even for the coaches, even for the helpers, especially for us. Let's face it, we're often drawn to this work because of our own stories, because of what we've overcome, or what we've been through in our lives. But when those wounds remain unhealed, they don't just disappear. They whisper to us in moments of exhaustion. They show up in our bodies, our boundaries, and our inability to rest. Not because we lack skill or purpose, but because sometimes we have trauma from childhood. Sometimes we don't have any prior trauma, and it's trauma picked up vicariously through years of sitting with other people's pain. Sometimes trauma that's been normalised in the culture of care, and we don't talk about it, at least not enough. Now let me tell you about why this work matters to me. This pivot is personal. I've lived in both worlds and sat on both sides of the couch. The wounded and the healer. The client and the clinician. I know what it's like to sit in a therapy chair trying to find some sort of inner peace. And I know what it's like to sit on the other side of that room, holding space for someone else's grief, trauma, and significant pain. And I know what it's like to be a practitioner who should know better, but still ends up burned out, depleted, anxious, or even ashamed because you're not okay. Let me take you back. For over 30 years, I've worked in the trauma field. I've worked with thousands of clients in deep pain, and I was there for a year after the Port Arthur massacre. I was there for a year after the mine collapse caused by the air blast at North Park's mine. I worked with survivors, with families, with entire communities. I was driven, so deeply driven, to help people heal, to make a difference in the world. And I hope with all my heart that I did. But the truth is, I just kept pushing through. I wore my resilience like armour. I functioned on basic self-care at best. I worked harder. I ignored the exhaustion. I told myself I just needed to rest more on the weekend, take a walk in nature, try a meditation. But it wasn't enough. And deep down, I knew it. Then there was a turning point. Everything changed after I went through major reconstructive ankle surgery. It was meant to be straightforward, but it wasn't. It was disastrous. I almost died. I developed systemic sepsis and spent 8 months in and out of hospital. And then in that same year, I experienced another significant trauma. And that was my breaking point. I had no choice but to slow down. And for the first time, I saw the truth. I had my own trauma, not just secondary trauma, not just emotional exhaustion. I had PTSD on top of everything else. So I started to rebuild. I changed the way I worked. I began navigating my own healing. It was raw, it was messy, it was long and extremely painful. But through this journey, I developed my ABS method, the Accelerated Breakthrough Strategies method, a process that I'd been using with incredible results on coaching clients individually and now with groups. And when I finally had someone guide me through my own method, I had a revelation. There were layers I hadn't seen, layers that weren't even mine. I was carrying other people's trauma, stories and experiences I'd absorbed into my nervous system across decades of helping others. Despite all my attempts at self-care, despite all my knowledge, I'd never truly cleared it. And it was keeping me stuck in a loop of burnout, compassion fatigue, and unacknowledged trauma. I finally saw it for what it was. Vicarious trauma. And that changed everything. When I finally acknowledged what I hadn't been ready to admit, that experiencing my own trauma had a further hidden gift in that it actually served as the excuse I needed to be able to fully deal with the years of vicarious trauma. And then I began to truly heal. I began using TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises, to literally shake it out and shake out what was stored in my nervous system. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Yes, I'm still a work in progress, but I am now solidly in post-traumatic growth, and I am moving towards thriving. That's what finally pushed me to ask the deeper questions. What's really going on under the surface of all this burnout, compassion fatigue and exhaustion? Why are so many incredible helping professionals silently suffering? And why are we treating it like a capacity problem when it's actually a trauma problem? That's the truth. It's trauma. It's unacknowledged trauma. It's unprocessed grief. It's nervous system dysregulation marked as ambition. It's overfunctioning disguised as professionalism. And it's a culture that tells us to suck it up instead of slow down. So now I want to share my revised and bigger mission. That even though I love helping people who've experienced trauma, I know my mission is to make a bigger impact because I can't help everyone. But what I can do is provide therapists, coaches, and helping professionals with tools that allow them to help themselves, or that allow them to heal themselves, so you can do this work more effectively and sustainably. I can take you through my ABS method and teach you how to recognize and release the trauma that you've unknowingly carried and help you to truly regulate your nervous system. And I can support you to stop just pushing through and start transforming, because you deserve healing too. And when you're grounded, present and whole, you create ripples of healing that go far beyond anything one person can do alone. So here's where we go from here. You're going to see a shift in my work. And probably in this podcast, to more directly serve therapists, coaches and helping professionals who feel stuck, tired or disconnected from their purpose. Not just with surface level tips for self-care, but with deep, transformative support that gets to the root of what's going on. We're going to explore the signs of unacknowledged trauma in practitioners. How compassion fatigue, burnout and vicarious trauma often stem from our own unhealed parts. The nervous system's role in everything and how to regulate it. How to reconnect with your original why. And how to move from surviving your work to actually thriving in it. Because you deserve that. You're not here to be a martyr for the cause. You're here to be fully alive, present, empowered, and available to the people that matter the most to you. To give from your overflow, not your depletion. To rise, just like the Phoenix archetype so many of you embody. So if anything I've shared today resonates with you, if you're a helping professional who's secretly struggling, questioning your capacity, or even wondering if this work is still for you, I want you to know something. You are not broken. You are not alone, and there is a way through. I'm creating something specifically for you, a free masterclass called The Hidden Cost of Helping. What's really behind your burnout, compassion fatigue and exhaustion. It's powerful, honest and practical, and it might just change the way you see yourself and your work forever. Stay tuned for more info and I'll include it in the show notes once it's ready to go. And beyond that, I'm opening the doors to the Rising Phoenix coaching program, a trauma-informed, nervous system-based experience designed specifically for helping professionals ready to heal their own wounds and reignite their purpose so that we can help you to reclaim your identity, release your stored negative emotions and reset your nervous system. Because when the healer heals, the ripple effect is unstoppable. So thank you so much for being here with me today, for listening, for showing up, and for all the invisible ways you serve the world. We need you, but we need the whole you, not the burned out version, not the disconnected version, the authentic, grounded, fully resourced version of you. You deserve that. Your family deserves that, and your clients do too. Thank you for being here, for doing the work that you do, and for being open to this conversation. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and remember, even the tallest poppies need tending to. Remember, you're not alone in this. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Growing Tall Poppies. It is my deepest hope that today's episode may have inspired and empowered you to step fully into your post-traumatic growth so that you can have absolute clarity around who you are, what matters the most to you, and to assist you to release your negative emotions and regulate your nervous system so you can fully thrive. New episodes are published every Tuesday. And I hope you'll continue to join us as we explore both the strategies and the personal qualities required to fully live a life of post-traumatic growth and to thrive. So if it feels aligned to you and really resonates, then I invite you to hit subscribe, and it would mean the world to us if you could share this episode with others who you feel may benefit too. You may also find me on Instagram at Growing Tall Poppies and Facebook, Dr. Natalie Green. Remember, every moment is an opportunity to look for the lessons and to learn and increase your ability to live the life you desire and deserve. So for now, stay connected, stay inspired, stand tall like the tall poppy you are, and keep shining your light brightly in the world. Bye for now.